Hi, Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist. So welcome back to the studio here. And today we're going to attempt to do a little bit of disassembly of the mechanism and the dial and the hands and so forth. We have a sweep second hand on our George Fix from Reading, Pennsylvania. And again, a very good name in Reading. Um, Early part of the 1790s, he was very low production, maybe about 20, 25 clocks in his lifetime. So apparently he was doing something else in Reading, Pennsylvania. But we're going to just attempt to get the hands off the dial and get the mechanism off the seat board. So, uh, and as you know, they got some reverse threads sitting here on this, on the sweep second hand. And we have our buddy Jack, who just has to come around, and we're going to send Jack to the floor again. And I'm turning this in a reverse motion, and you may want to put a little bit of lubricant. I put a little bit of uh, lubricant, a little bit of oil to try and release this hand. I was afraid I don't want to break this hand. You can tell this hand has been bent, it's crooked, but now this is hand cut in the 18th century. It's been heat blued. So we're going to put this down here. And so somebody will make a comment that I just pushed the cat down. And we have a square nut. So we want to put everything down here. We can see it. We have another square nut. So hands are tricky sometimes, but again, there's some remnants of blue right here on the hand that's been held and has been sheltered probably for the better part of its lifetime behind that nut. And you can see the bend in this. Some of that bend is to avoid the other hands, though, I must say. But there's, even back then in Reading, Pennsylvania, there's a slight bit of engraving on this hand all the way around. Probably very difficult to see without getting this cleaned up. Almost looks like hair, so it's interesting, almost like an arrow. And let's see here what we got. So right here we have a locking square that actually, what I'm finding is has been semi-corroded right to the hand, and it was creating a little bit of a difficulty to turn. So we have to do this very gingerly. We don't want to scratch the dial. See that I'm turning the square, and I got it. Okay, so we have essentially we have here three different sizes of squares. One is a locking, and two are basically squared. We have one squared washer, one round washer, and one locking square per se. So let's see what we can do with this hand. And because this guy has been around for so long in an idle situation, there we go. So again, beautiful hands, but what I'm seeing with this hand, I have very little to no engraving on it at the second hand. I'm not sure. We'll have to do some further experimentation to see if they're a match. And the decorative aspect of this doesn't appear to be matching either. So, and again, this is one of the movements in one of the worst conditions I've ever seen. We're going to come back around here, and we're going to pull the pins out. Somebody's used some kind of a nail. I'm going to use leverage here. I'm gripping right to the corner of the plate, and I'm bending back and forth, getting another grip, bending, and you can see somebody has used just finished nails. So somebody really didn't care about this, or didn't know what they were doing, or didn't want to know what they were doing. So again, a couple different holds, grip, and this guy will have new pins when we're done. Look at those guys. Wow. Typically there's four sometimes, but usually Reading you only have, you only have four pillars holding the dial on. That's it. But rust and just decay like I've never seen. But this guy's coming out. Okay. Again, it is heavily corroded in. There we go. So let's just take a look at the back of the dial. Nice thing, everything looks to be intact. We have this mating false plate in the back here. Our springs seem to be in good order, but as we spoke in another video, if we take a look, it looks like when somebody's had this out, or unless this clock has gone over, we have a bend. If you're looking right at the camera, we have a bend, so this is going to have to be bent back very gingerly. But the moon dial will be taken apart. All the mechanism will come off back here for cleaning, and at a later date, we'll look at a dial cleaning. So now, look at this beauty, Mr. Fix. So typically, when you had a British movement, you wouldn't see the cutout. Again, these cutouts in the plates were conservation of brass. I mean, look how much brass that saves. If you did a lot of movements, and brass was very expensive, especially the thicker brass like these plates are made out of. So, but just in the offing, everything seems to be there. But this movement is 100%. I mean, not 100%, but a lot of it's frozen up. So we want to be very careful with it, and we're going to go to our next stage. But let's get this off the seat board first. Take a look down here. We have it's cable. It's not gut. It's cable, and you can't tell from all the dirt that's on there. I'm trying to look for the repair badge on here, but I'm not seeing anything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just lever up a little bit so I can get with my my nips. And we're going to cut the top of the cable. And you can see where somebody used 100 years ago. They used just a piece of, actually it's an arbor. If we look, we can see the pivot point, which is a broken pivot on this. So that's what they used to anchor the cable. So this is going to be a little more difficult. So I'm going to go in from the front here. Okay, so I cut both cables. And this doesn't look right. By 1790, we wouldn't be using wooden pulleys. It just didn't happen. I mean, if someone could afford this clock in Reading, Pennsylvania, which this clock would have been in the, within a 30-mile radius, somebody could have bought this from George Fix. He would have had brass pulleys, not wooden pulleys. So this was for whatever reason. And we have some old pulleys to put on here. So now we're going to relieve the movement. Just be careful again of the crutch. We don't want to hit the crutch. But you can see this guy, just look at, oh my God. So we'll do some photographs before and after when it's done and as it's all happening. So I have a nice Sheffield screwdriver here. Everybody can see this. I'm going to hold the movement so the movement isn't going to flop down. These are rather nice. They can be, they can be gripped with a wrench or a slot screwdriver. So that's a great addition. Okay, you can have a washer. A little bit too difficult for the fingers. So let's see if we can get this guy. Okay, there you go. So our next video, I mean, we took it, the hands off, and the next video we're going to take the cable off. We'll take the front of the movement, and we're going to take the mechanism apart. And you can see what excess oil does in the long term. It actually stained the plates. Look at that. Somebody just loaded up with the oil, and it probably pulled all the oil out. But it probably hasn't ran in a good time, but there's a fair amount of play in here, and we'll have to determine that. We have to remember this is an 18th century movement, and they have a lot more play than those from America or those from the French. So, but nevertheless, a wonderful survivor, a masterpiece at that. And let's pick this up in our next video. Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist, signing out. Thanks all for viewing.